We begin here in Nairobi, where Parliament's top watchdog committee is now itself facing a corruption investigation. The Speaker of the National Assembly earlier today suspended the operations of the Public Accounts Committee following claims of corruption within its ranks. Aaron Ocheng, KTN's editor-in-charge of parliamentary affairs, has been following this story, and as he tells us, this committee is supposed to investigate corruption in public institutions, and yet now it is itself being investigated.
Besieged Public Accounts Committee Chair Babu Namwamba has 21 days to save face in the wake of corruption allegations leveled against him. In an unprecedented ruling by House Speaker Justin Muturi, the entire operations of the Oversight Committee will remain suspended until the credibility of the committee is fully investigated.
The operations of the Public Accounts Committee are hereby suspended.
The Powers and Privileges Committee has now been mandated to take charge of the investigations.
It should be borne in mind that the House has always claimed a right to exercise a substantial degree of control over its own members when the matter in any way relates to privileges of the House.
Majority Leader Eden Duale had sought directions from the chair on whether it was credible for a committee that investigates corruption to find itself in a compromising situation. Duale says the allegations need to be substantiated as the integrity of the 11th Parliament is at stake. The allegations against Public Accounts Committee Chair Babu Namwamba are raising questions. Key among them is just how credible a parliamentary committee reports. The Budalangi legislator and ODM Secretary General recently survived a vote of no confidence by a whisker as 13 members of his committee voted in favor of a motion to expel him after reports that he has on several occasions been bribed to alter reports on people and institutions they were probing.
If there is any evidence against Babu Namwamba, let it be tabled. Let it be brought. Because there are plans to destabilize ODM. We know what is happening. We know because it's Public Accounts Committee. In that committee, Jubilee people are there, court people are there.
This committee was investigating two very crucial issues. Number one is the Hustler Jet issue. And number
afresh so that we can have good impetus in fight against corruption because we are the main watchdog.
Namwamba has put a spirited defense, challenging anyone with evidence to put it forward for investigations and appropriate action. Aaron Ocheng, KTN.
In the other arm of government, the judiciary, the man largely accused of being behind the infamous Anglo-leasing scam was finally in the dock. Deepak Kamani was arraigned in court with two of his relatives to face various charges related to the multi-billion shilling scam. KTN's senior reporter Asham Willu reports on the latest in a series of fresh court appearances on Anglo-leasing.
For 11 years, the man named as the grand architect of the Anglo-leasing scandal managed to remain an enigma, evading constant attempts of arrests and summonses. But on Thursday, Deepak Kamani was in the dock for the very first time. In the company of his father, Chaman Lal, and brother Rashmi Kamani, Deepak appeared the least bothered.
You conspired with others not before court to commit an economic crime.
But as soon as the clerk-in-chief magistrate Hanan Ndugu's court began reading the charges against them, the Kamanis knew this was no laughing matter. The three are facing 2 counts of conspiring to defraud the government and 3 counts of fraudulently acquiring public property. The siblings were charged first and pleaded not true regarding allegations that they received 500 million shillings from the Kenyan government without delivering the services. Chaman Lal was charged separately and also pleaded not guilty to acquiring 121 million shillings under the pretext that he would offer credit to the government for the purchase of security equipment. Charges that their lawyer Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi described as small felonies.
But my lady, if you look at the charge that these persons are facing, it's not really that earth-shaking as everybody was made to believe. That's why I say it's more of a whimper than a roar.
40 million euros.
by any standard is an earth-shaking amount. It runs into billions.
Ahmed Nasir argued for his client's release and applied to have Rashmi and Chaman Lal retain their travel documents.
His wife, who also lives with him in Dubai, has certain medical conditions which need his constant help and supervision. So, my lady, I don't think it will be fair that he does deposit his passport.
Chief Magistrate Ndungu would have none of it.
Each accused will also deposit their travel documents into court.
To secure their release, the court ordered the brothers to pay either a 20 million shilling bond or a 4 million shilling cash bail. Their father was given the option to pay a 10 million shilling bond or a cash bail of 2 million shillings. The Kamani is now prepared to appear before the Anti-Corruption Court for a mention on the 18th of March. But the real pressure is on Kenya's judicial system that a case with so many false starts can finally make its way to a conclusion. Asha Mwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
The Anglo leasing scam first came to light in 2004, just 2 years into the then relatively popular NARC administration. But various attempts to nail its perpetrators have never materialized. Our KTN senior political reporter Sam Ogina spoke to one man who first blew the whistle on one of Kenya's biggest financial scams.
He lifted the lid to the infamous decade-long Anglo leasing scam, tabling an investigative report on the shady dealings on printing of passports at the then Ministry of Home Affairs. Little did the then Tonyeri MP know the magnitude of the ripple effect of his action would cause. An expose of a mega security scandal.
I only knew of the passport control that time, the passport printing, only to come and discover that the thing was worth $230 million. What we were exposing was only that $1 million.
Acting on what he says was his own volition, he single-handedly sent shockwaves within government circles.
The documents came my way the same day actually I tabled them, on the 20th of April 2004 at 2 o'clock. And by 4 o'clock I had tabled them. I remember they were circulating around Parliament for almost a month.
The scam exposed the rot that few would have known about as NARC burst into the euphoria of kicking the grand old party, KANU, out of power. A ring of powerful government ministers and technocrats were weaved in a web to siphon from public coffers billions of shillings in shady security tenders. The scandal rocked Kibaki's administration to the core, claiming some in his kitchen cabinet as others vowed to stay put.
I hereby voluntarily step aside as your Minister for Finance and a member of the cabinet to pave way for investigation.
Anglo leasing, as it is known, the two projects that entail Anglo leasing were KANU projects. We do not have any information that we can give you.
I honestly and sincerely see no reason to step down. I am not resigning.
11 years later, the Anglo leasing whistleblower says the Uhuru administration has a golden chance of finally ridding the country of the ghost that is Anglo leasing. But will it?
The president was the chairman of Public Accounts Committee. He has the facts. So even if you take them to a judge and the judge decide that this is not true, he knows.
Corruption is a monster that has sadly been domesticated in Kenya, gnashing away public coffers at will. But the prosecution of the Anglo leasing scam may provide the Jubilee administration a litmus test on dealing with one of the country's biggest scams. Sam Ogina, KTN, Nairobi.
Thank you, Sam. So the question everybody wants answered is this monster called corruption now becoming a national culture, Yvonne?
It looks like it is, and of course from all the views we've seen coming in on social media, many people seem to agree these are just some of the big ones, and we want to take a look at some of them, so many, but want to highlight some of the ones we feel were the biggest in Kenya's history today. And let's start off by taking a look at the one that is infamous. And that's the Goldenberg scam. Now, what we're doing is taking a look at these amounts and these figures. Now, this is the figure that we're dealing with for the Goldenberg scandal. 54.6 billion shillings. This is the amount valued at today's dollar exchange rate. It was 600 million US dollars when this scandal first broke out decades ago. Now, the objective of Goldenberg, this is what it was all about. The company was supposed to import and export any and all types of minerals, including gold, silver, and diamonds. And they took advantage of the export compensation scheme that was put in place by the CBK. And even to date, there is no evidence that the company ever engaged in any mining of gold and diamonds, the two minerals they were supposed to be exporting. And that is the man, Kamlesh Patni, who was at the center of it all. He took advantage of a monopoly. He was supposed to get 20% compensation from CBK for this exportation. He ended up getting 35%, and that is what resulted in the $600 million figure. We want to move to the other one, which is what is in the spotlight right now, and that is the Anglo leasing scandal. This involved about 18 security contracts, and that is the figure that you, the taxpayer, have borne for this so far. 1.4 billion shillings, you'll remember, was paid out by the government last year to Anglo Leasing Finance. At the time, Cabinet Secretary for Finance, Henry Rotich, did say that if we did not settle this amount that was awarded by a court, we would be incurring an interest of 260,000 shillings every month. If you recall, after that, Anura Pereira made another claim of 3 billion shillings, which the government said they would not pay. Now, this was all phantom companies. What was Anglo Leasing about? It was all ostensibly to build a forensics lab to provide or supply naval warships, as well as to get us a sophisticated passport printing system that will perhaps help to keep our borders secure in terms of the people that are coming in. All of these projects, of course, you know, were not to be, and like you've seen in the reports we've had earlier, those who are thought to be responsible have been arraigned in court. Let's take you a little back further in time. Now, the next scandal was all about oil, and that is the Triton scandal. What amount of monies are we talking about when it comes to the Triton scandal? You'll see that in just a bit. 7.6 billion shillings. This figure we got from an Africog analysis report, and this is what they say we stand to lose in case of the lawsuits that have been filed. This is what it was. Yagnesh Devani, who is the man that owned Triton Oil Company, was able to have oil removed from the Kenya Pipeline Company reserves. It was stocks worth 126.4 million shillings. This was done without the consent of the financiers, and they're now suing the Kenya Pipeline Company. This, of course, resulted in the fuel shortage that we saw in 2008. This company was essentially allowed to keep more oil reserves than its market share. Many said it was doing this because of speculation, and that would lead to shortage, and of course, as well as a hike in oil prices. Let's remind you that Yagnesh Devani is being tried in absentia in the country. We want to move now to another one, because what's now beginning to happen is that corruption is not just something that is happening in the government. There's collusion with the private sector as well. That takes us to this latest one. This is something that has been tried not here, but in United States of America. The Securities Exchange Commission fined a company, that is Goodyear Tires, its subsidiary, Kenyan subsidiary is Trendsetters. They fined them 1 billion shillings. Why? Because 136 million shillings was given to unnamed officials in various parastatals in the country so that they could award the tender of supply to Goodyear Tires. So this is the amount of money that was involved in this Rubbergate scandal, and this is exactly what happened. Now, that amount of money, 136 million, were bribes paid to Kenya Ports Authority, Nzoia Sugar Company, Kenya Air Force officials there between the years of 2007 and 2011. Plus, let's also mention there was 1.3 million shillings that was also paid to local government officials, including the Nairobi County. Now, Mumo Matemu, by the way, says the EACC is aware of this ruling, but they have not released a statement. They say they will release one in due course, and that is causing a bit of friction because all of these investigations are being done abroad. People are being found guilty. The same does not happen here. Here's another scandal that's involving collusion between private sector and government. The famous Chicken Gate scandal. 50 million shillings was the total amount of money paid in bribes, which was referred to as chicken, hence the term Chicken Gate. Now, this scandal came to light after a 4-year investigation by the Serious Fraud Office in the United Kingdom. It involved the printing of examination certificates and, of course, ballot papers. IIEC at the time, it was the Independent Interim Electoral Commission and the National Examination Council. We know of 2 officials that were jailed in the UK last year. The investigations here are still going on. And of course, those who are said to have been implicated include the chair, Isaac Hassan, the CEO, former James Oswago, and the former NEC boss, Paul Wasanga. Now, these are just some of those. And the question, of course, that we continue to ask is, will we see big people being brought to book in terms of what's happening with corruption in the country? Is it becoming part of our national culture? We look forward to your feedback on that. Ben?
Indeed, Yvonne, it is a big monster, and we are about to keep training our cameras on that monster called corruption. Thank you for staying with us here on KTN Prime. Now, we have been off air for 19 days. A lot of debate has been ongoing. After the break, shall be finding out what your views are. We shall be crossing live to Edith Kimani, who is standing by in the Nairobi Central Business District.
You're watching KTN Prime this Thursday evening. Thank you for staying with us.
Indeed, we have been off here for 19 days. This debate, the digital TV debate, has been ongoing, has been heated on social media platforms, but the truth is most Kenyans have been in the dark. But what are your views? Let's now cross over to KTN's Edith Kimani, live from the Nairobi CBD. Edith.
Well, thank you very much, Ben Kitili. I'm here with Boniface Mwangi. It's a bit distracting. There's a lot of people who recognize his face, and we also have quite a number of documents. Armed with documents, Boniface Mwangi always is, and it's impossible not to be when it comes to corruption. We've heard what Yvonne Okwara has said, those huge figures, and if you scour the internet, you'll find one very interesting one, 16, that's the number. Kenya Advisor, which is this little website, says that on average, a Kenyan will pay up to 16 bribes every month in order to get some services done. And my question to you, Boniface, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
The question is, we're saying today you have your voice back, but why don't
Yes.
Kenyans use this voice to fight corruption?
Kenyans have tried. 11 years ago when Kibaki became president and traffic officers were trying to take bribes from Kenyans, they would be arrested and taken to the police station. But then we realized there was no seriousness from the government to fight corruption. So the problem in this country is we do not protect whistleblowers. We have a constitution that does not jail corruption breakers. Sorry about my voice, but
It's all right.
But you have a constitution that is not followed. So when you arrest someone like Kamlesh Patni, he's never convicted. We have Anglo leasing. When the president was the head of the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee, he said Anglo leasing was a scandal. Last year, the Kenya government paid Anglo leasing Ghost 1.4 billion shillings. So yes, we do fight corruption with words, but when it comes to action, we never act.
And my question is, why is this? I know you've intimated a little about this, saying that, you know, we're afraid of the consequences, but surely year after year after year, there's been a corruption scandal. And we're talking about grand corruption, not even the little bribes that we pay on the streets.
True. There was a bit of movement last year when the president admitted that his ministry is the most corrupt ministry in the country.
The first time ever for a sitting head of state to admit
Yes.
that.
But what did he do next? He transferred the corrupt officials. No one was arrested, no one was prosecuted. And then last year, 2013, the president launched a website to fight corruption. Till to date, no one has been convicted because someone reported corruption. You know why? We do not protect whistleblowers. So even if I have evidence against anyone, I can't go to the police. I don't trust the police. I don't trust the courts. So as a citizen, you're helpless. The only way to fight corruption in our own small way.
But are we really, Boniface? Let me interrupt you there,
Yes.
because you personally brought me the article reminding me of the website that the president had set up.
Yes.
To have people anonymously give tips on who is corrupt, whether they've paid bribes and to whom they've paid this bribe.
Yes.
But it seems like we're not using it.
Because the government should act on that report. Citizens are not vigilantes. We can't go around arresting people and prosecuting them. We cannot do that. I have a social contract with the government of Kenya. I pay my taxes, they provide services. What that means, if you take a bribe from me, or if you're corrupt, the government should arrest you and take you to court, not kangaroo courts. The other laws do work. A man was jailed last month in Kitui for stealing bread and soda for 5 years. When it comes to corruption, we do not convict anyone. That's the problem. You cannot blame a citizen because corruption is expensive, but it's convenient. If a cop arrests me today, it's easier for me to pay a bribe than go to court. because as a traffic offender, I'm going to be locked up with rapists, murderers. It's inconveniencing.
Right.
I go to court. It's the cop word against mine. And even if I'm innocent, I'm already set up by the courts. That they don't listen to me first. They listen to the cop. So litigation is expensive.
Okay. So in your experience, having been, in the civil society for a while now, you're out there protesting, you're getting beaten and you have children and a family.
Yes.
But it seems that the rest of us are sitting pretty in our homes saying, well, this is the way of the world. This is how it is. So looking forward, will there ever be a solution to this problem?
There should be a solution. Number one, the president should make corruption a national disaster and reach across.
A national disaster?
Yes.
And how does that happen?
You say these are problems that we must tackle in our generation. And that's number one. Number two, enlist civil society, enlist the opposition, enlist Kenyans in fighting corruption, and show some seriousness, because the President of the Republic of Kenya is not serious about fighting corruption. In the last 2 years of Jubilee, not a single person has been convicted of corruption.
So would you say that the efforts by the EACC at the moment to go after the Anglo-leasing bigwigs, the suspects, that's not enough?
It's all a big fuss. Muraria, who's supposed to be arrested and he said he's sick, works for the president. He's the chairman of Kenya Wildlife Service. He hasn't lost his job. Chicken Gate, Isaac is still in office. Tire Gate, they're still in office. Every single corruption that has been put in the last 2 years, the people who have been mentioned are still in office. So if you're serious about it, you fire those people.
Okay.
He hasn't fired anyone, has he?
Not to my knowledge. No,
So
he
is
hasn't. Okay, so let's talk about the impact of that. I'm just looking at some figures here from Transparency International from last year. And according to that Corruption Perception Index, Kenya was ranked 145 out of 175 countries. This means that in the world, basically, it is perceived that Kenya is only less corrupt than 30 other countries. What is even more interesting is Zimbabwe. President Robert Mugabe saying to his generals, I don't want you to be like Kenya and Nigeria, because those are the countries where you have to dig into your pocket to get anything done. Are we really, truly understanding the consequences of this?
We don't yet, but it's true that Kenya is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. We pay bribes every single day. In the last 51 years of this country, Kenya is turning 52 this year, we have jailed less than 20 people for corruption. Check the archives, check the history. We do not join big thieves. So there's a bit of vigilantism in the community. You're going to lynch a mobile phone thief or a normal thief. But when it comes to big corruption, we elect them. Kidero is in government, right? He's the governor of Nairobi. Mumias has collapsed. Nothing has happened. No one has been arrested, no one is being charged. And when we charge them, it's actually another farce, because there's no conviction. Kamlesh Patini, there was inquiry in this country about Kamlesh Patini and how he stole from this country. But he was never jailed. He was acquitted. In this country, you steal, you get good money, you go by the judiciary, and you walk scot-free.
You buy the judiciary and you walk scot-free. Trust Boniface Mwangi to always say the controversial things. But you did mention, I mean, yes, it's
Look at the most expensive lawyers. They represent criminals in this country. The most expensive lawyers are representing narcotic people.
To be fair, everyone is innocent until proven guilty.
But are go stealing this money from this country. We're stealing our money. I would like the president of this country to learn a lesson from Margaret Kenyatta. She's fighting maternal mortality. She's running. She's not just threatening to run, she runs. And I'm joining on Saturday. The president of this country, on Sunday, the president is always threatening corruption and to take action. Stop threatening. Take action. We all support you. I would work for the president of this country in fighting corruption. All Kenyans would join hands to fight corruption because it's expensive.
So he needs to, in your words earlier on, get the spine to do this.
Yeah, he has no backbone to fight corruption. There's no political goodwill. He has a rubber stamp parliament that approves everything that he wants. He should actually use the same parliament to push for the fight against corruption and zero tolerance on corruption. If you look at the most corrupt ministries, there's that sign. It's a corruption-free zone, but it's the most corrupt. The land scandal in this country, the Anglo-leasing, all these big scandals emanate from the office of the president. Look at the history. The biggest scams in this country are from one office, his office.
Yeah.
He needs to act.
I mean, they have been laid out by Yvonne Okwaria earlier on. I know you couldn't hear. But you did mention Mumias earlier on, and I just want us to take a pause in our conversation so that we can get to Robert Wanyonyi. We're talking about grand corruption in this country. And Mumias, as Boniface Mwangi has mentioned, has seen a bit of controversy recently. Wanyonyi, what's going on there?
very much.
Wanyonyi, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Thank you very much, Edith. We are still talking about the situation that is in the sugarcane industry, and here today morning at Mumia Sugar Company there was a bad situation whereby thousands of farmers were demonstrating against delayed payments, and also the situation whereby the management seems to be shielding, according to the farmers themselves, that they are shielding some people who are behind the looting and maybe the current state of the company, whereby some millions or billions have been lost. So the situation was that in between the demonstration there were two groups. People who are supporting the audit report that was given recently, and then there is another group that was opposed to it, saying that some politicians were trying to politicize this report, so that those people who put the company to profitability were being accused of being the ones who have led to the current situation. So as we speak now is that 6 farmers were injured during the clashes with the police, and the situation now has been normalized after many police were brought in from Kakamega, Bungoma, Butere, and other neighboring towns to quell the violence. And now the situation is cool, but the farmers have promised to go back there if the government doesn't come in and maybe put those who are involved in the looting of the company to justice. Back to you, Edith.
Very much, Robert Wanyonyi. We're coming to you live from Kencom, just in case you're joining us. And I do have Boniface Mwangi with me here. And before I release you, I do have to ask a question. What is the solution? Because we can't keep talking about corruption for the rest of our lives.
You see, you can't blame Kenyans. If there's no goodwill from the president to fight corruption, you can never fight corruption.
Then perhaps we should start looking for a solution that comes from the grassroots as opposed to...
But the grassroots, we can never prosecute. We don't have those powers.
Right.
We have ethics and anti-corruption. We have the courts. We have the police. They're not doing their work. Because as a citizen, I can only refuse to pay a bribe. But that is more expensive if I refuse to pay a bribe. So we pay a bribe because it's the easiest and most convenient way of addressing my own personal issue. So if the president declares zero tolerance on corruption and acts on corruption, and he shows that he's actually serious about it, then he can eradicate corruption. He needs to protect whistleblowers. He can even appoint John Githongo as the ethics and anti-corruption in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to see if it's going to work. Why can the president work with people who are committed in fighting corruption? Citizens, civil society, and even some of the corporate bodies.
Well, it's a good question, and it's a good question to end on. And speaking of John Githongo, he is the one who famously said that with corruption, it's systemic. It feeds on itself. So if you have 1 million, you'll want 10 million. And if you have 10 million, you want 20 million. However, away from corruption matters, let's move to Mercy Kandia now. And Mercy, we're looking at the issue of famine. There are a lot of Kenyans who are at the verge of starvation, from what I understand.
Thank you very much. In as much as corruption is a concern throughout the nation, here in the North Rift region, what is also of concern is the drought season, the annual drought that continues to hit most counties within the North Rift region. As we speak, over 460 residents of Turkana County alone are in fear of facing drought this year. And even in Baringo County, we talked to a few officials from Baringo County, and they're saying they have already put measures in place, policies, just to ensure that their residents do not even get to, be bombarded by the drought season. In West Pokot County, the northern and central parts of West Pokot counties, livestock have already started to migrate to the international borders. Livestock have migrated to Uganda, and this poses insecurity threats, because once livestock are confined to one particular area, then this becomes a insecurity threat to security in that area due to cattle raids. But I will now hand you back to Nairobi, and we will give you more information as this unfolds. Back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Mercy Kandie. We are back on the topic of corruption, a hot button issue as we like to call it. But Boniface, you seem to be of the opinion that the president doesn't think that it's hot enough. And you have a suggestion. I'm
saying he actually needs, he has a website that says report corruption. We'd like to know, give us the data. How many people have reported corruption to you? How many have you acted on? How many prosecutions? So that you can actually have faith in the government and the commitment to fight corruption. Because when you look at a hashtag can fight corruption, our website won't fight corruption, adverts won't, unless you jail people and make corruption expensive. People will continue stealing. Unless you make it punishable by death for stealing from the government, like the 5 billion, 4 billion, when people are dying of famine in this country, if you make it punishable by death and make it expensive, people will still pay bribes and people will still receive bribes.
Okay, but we do know that the problem of corruption is fed by other issues as well. Poverty, tribalism.
No, it's not poverty and tribalism. The biggest corruption in this country of billions of shillings is greed. Greed by leaders that we have. We pay them high salaries, but they still steal from us.
But I mean, when you look at tribalism and how it works, but I mean, the people who support the people who are alleged to be corrupt, then they back them on the basis of tribe.
Ignorance. There's a lot of ignorance. Let's fry one big fish. Anglo, listen. The president should make sure there's a conviction. That will send a very strong statement to the corrupt people in this country.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about all those other scandals? I mean, Yvonne Okara listed possibly 4 or 5, but there's still so many that she didn't touch on.
We must begin somewhere. But the president needs to act. Let me tell you what happens in schools. You have a prefect. Right. You report noisemakers, they're punished by the teacher. This country, we have a prefect, Uhuru Kenyatta. We report corrupt people, he doesn't act. Because the buck stops at the president. If this country is corrupt, the president is corrupt. Because the fish rots from the head. So let's not blame these guys. These guys have no power to arrest anyone.
Right.
We blame the president and his government because it's him running this country. It's not Mutunga running this country. It's not this guy Boinatu running this country. It's not parliament running this country. It's the president. And it's only him can show the backbone to fight corruption. And we shall all join him. I said I can work for the president in fighting corruption for free.
So if today he stood and said, I'm going to walk in order to raise funds to build an institution that will jail all the corrupt people, you will back him.
He doesn't have to walk.
And would that be enough?
Let Margaret Kenyatta run. We're supporting Margaret Kenyatta. She's doing very well. But even if the president was fighting corruption, Margaret doesn't have to run. She's running because money is being stolen, so there's maternal death in this country. If money meant for health was going to health, she would have no reason to run. So the president should declare the same way zero maternal death. The president should say zero corruption.
Zero corruption. Well, that's a very aspirational thought, and that's where we wrap up. Boniface Mwangi, thank you very much for joining us.
I don't apologize for my voice. I had to come today.
Don't apologize for your voice. You have a cold. It is your voice. And we're encouraging you as well to join us in this conversation on Twitter. Remember the hashtag. You can follow it, and you can also tweet at Yvonne Okara or at Ben Kitili. Ben, I think I got your Twitter handle wrong. You might have to correct me. But here's back to Ben. My name is Edith Kimani. Good evening.
Thank you, Edith. It is indeed wrong. It is Ben at Ben_Kitili. And despite Boniface Mwangi's lost voice, indeed, the hashtag is your voice back. Keep sending us your tweets. Tell us, what do you think? Now, Kenyans have become used to hearing tales of grand corruption that occurred within alarming regularity. But how much have we lost so far, and what has been the opportunity cost of the scourge? KTN's Adelaide Changole looks at the history of the vice here in Kenya and brings us the real cost of corruption to the nation.
Corruption, dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. This has become a thorn in the flesh of Kenya since independence, and the figures involved in the ensuing mega scandals have risen exponentially since 1963.
That corruption in Kenya is not in millions anymore, it's in billions of shillings. And when you convert them into dollars, it's hundreds of millions of dollars, which is huge sums. So the cumulative effect is actually very, very big sums of money.
The scandals have come in all shapes and sizes. Among the earliest mega scandals came in the 1970s in the form of the Kenren fertilizer plant, which cost taxpayers 5.1 billion shillings. Then came the Takwel hydroelectric power station that was built for 5 times the estimated costs and ended up operating below capacity. And then there was the Goldenberg scandal that is said to have cost Kenya 54 billion shillings, the equivalent of 10% of the country's GDP at the time. More recently, however, the country witnessed the Anglo-leasing scandal that cost taxpayers 62 billion shillings. But the combined numbers of all these scandals do not hold a candle to the most common and insidious form of corruption. According to reports from the Office of the Auditor General, the national government loses 30% of the national budget each year. In 2010, the then Finance Minister Uhuru Kenyatta quantified the loss at 300 billion shillings annually. This means the country has lost an eye-watering 4.5 trillion shillings since 2000, an equivalent of Kenya's economy today.
One of the things that's really surprising to me is that given the amount of documented corruption that's out there, it's a surprise the economy hasn't collapsed.
So what could the 4.5 trillion shillings lost to corruption over the years have done for Kenya? The answer is simple. It could have changed the reality for the country. For starters, it could fully finance the 2 trillion shilling LAPSSET project, the construction of both Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Standard Gauge Railway, rehabilitate the Nairobi Commuter Rail project, and finance the Nairobi Bypass project. On top of this, the state could build one level 5 referral hospital in each of the country's 290 constituencies and fully equip them. Each constituency would also get 20 new schools, and the state would be able to hire 140,000 teachers. And this would still leave the state with 337 billion shillings in change.
It means that every year we lose, well, we are unable to account for money that would actually educate everybody in Kenya who wishes to go to school. Leaving aside some change for construction of that. The human cost is real. Before we even talk about what it could do for our infrastructure, before we even talk about what it could do for our public health services.
Instead of all this, however, the country is stuck in a rut with a high tax burden and a system that perpetuates the wastage of those taxpayer funds for the benefit of a few. And experts say the current state of affairs is untenable and unsustainable.
Corruption has a way of feeding itself into insecurity, feeding itself into hatred, feeding itself into bad politics, and before you know it, a country with a lot of potential like Kenya is just stagnant and basically kept at a low level of income for forever. My view is that that should strengthen our resolve to say that we have an even lower appetite for corruption. And yes, it will not be cut to zero immediately, but that we make progress every single day.
Now, his name has elicited local and international reaction, doubts, and what finally appears as closure for his family.
Mesha Kibe's killing has been shrouded in mystery with no clear indication on who exactly may have killed him.
Now, KTN's Denison Sarego reports on our first installment of The Lead. Yebe was killed, and the National Police Service appears to have engaged in an elaborate cover-up of his murder.
Huyu ni mtoto yangu Mungu.
Na inaonekana huyu mtu alipitia tocha kubwa sana.
Majeraha maybe ya kukatwa nini.
Priscilla has been a troubled person for the last 3 weeks now. Mesha Kibe's mother last saw the son alive, and days later saw him lying dead in a hospital mortuary. But all that changed in a matter of days.
Huyu ni Mesha. Hawa ananyang'anya sisi. Huyu ni mtoto yangu Mungu.
Mesha Kibe was last seen alive on the 27th of December last year. Yebe had stepped out to buy water for his sick son in Taribo, but never returned. His disappearance will have gone unnoticed if it wasn't for the interest his name was generating.
The International Criminal Court is now in session.
The defense team of William Ruto laid claim on Yebe as a critical witness, with the ICC prosecution terming Yebe as a bad contact. The prosecution singled out Yebe as one of the individuals who tried to corrupt prosecution witnesses. Yebe's dalliance with the International Criminal Court dates back nearly 3 years.
He was once listed as a potential ICC witness, together with the Rono and Ken Wekesa. They were the first pull out after, I think, doing some negotiations somewhere.
The family of Mesha Kiebe says they were not aware of their kin's dealings with the International Criminal Court, but got worried when they failed to reach him.
Then I went to report to Tarbo Police Post. Kuna mtu anapotea, we don't know where he has gone, alipotea. Watu wa Tarbo askari wakaniambia, no, Mesha kameenda mahali, it could be around anajienjoy tu. Mimi nikamwambia hapana, I know him, he can't go anywhere. Na hawezi acha watu hospitali naenda ajienjoy. Akaniambia hapana, so you can't report a person missing when only 3 hours ago.
Normally, a person is reported missing after 48 hours. Coincidentally, it was after 4 days that the family was informed about the discovery of a body in Kapsabet County Hospital.
Pigiwa simu, wakasema kuna mtu anasikia kwa radio, kuna mwili umepatikana Kapsabet. Mimi nikatoka nikaenda Kapsabet. Nikaenda na my uncle pastor, tukaenda kucheck mwili, kuona ni Mesha. We check everywhere, tukaona vidole ya mguu, kuona kila kitu. Ni wazimu.
Yago ya hit ni sene, yago ya hit Mesha. Au kagere kyanyite wana. Anyite siyeni amorichu. Konyite bigalaga oldage, konyite bigalaga it. Ago kyago ojurat, ojurugula. Ago kyanyite gele kibangwe. Kugogo jigelde take. Kugogo ili amelengo ili ikobe kugogo ili bitin kule ningun gelde ne taban mas. Lakini gele tu omesya. Ageldani. Yago ya ildan geldani. Na kyarani. Omesya.
Paul Suguta, retired senior police officer, was tasked by Yebe's family to help them trace and identify his body.
Ilikuwa imevimba because there was no fridge. Ilikuwa imekuwa kubwa sana hivi. Nywele ilikuwa ni safi kama hii yangu. Yes. Na inaonekana hii mtu alipitia tocha kubwa sana. Mwanake anaonekana alikuwa analia, akapigwa mdomo, kavunja meno. Lile haikuvunjika, iliregea. Na hapa nikaona kulikuwa na mali iligongwa na chuma, kitu kama pliers. Ndio ilikuwa imefinya pande hii na pande hii. Sasa ikafanya kufura tena. So wakati mama anakuja, tulicover that part. Mama asione the private part.
But what was meant to be the start of the final burial rites for Mesha Kiebe turned into a tussle over his remains. Masi Maliazo, Yusuf Hussein's girlfriend and one who has stayed with Yusuf for more than 3 years now, told KTN she had last seen Yusuf in October, 3 months before he died.
After mwezi wa 10 ilisha hivyo.
Alikuwa na simu? Amko mnongea naye kwa simu? Kuanzia mwezi wa 10 mpaka mwezi wa 12 mwisho amkuongea na Yusuf. Hata siku moja. Hakukuja hapa.
Alikuwa anapita tu.
Ulikuwa unamuona akipita?
Na gari tu.
Ulimuona? Mara ya mwisho ulimuona akipita ilikuwa lini?
Oktoba.
Hiyo ndio mara ya mwisho. Na kama alikuwa anapita kwa hii barabara huku muona Novemba na Disemba, huku muona. Hakuja kuona mtoto.
The government will later release the body to the family of Yusuf for burial after what police claimed was DNA and fingerprints evidence. KTN has established a confusing tale around the government's dealings with Mesha Kiebe's disappearance and possible murder. Did the National Police Service cut corners with Mesha Kiebe's mysterious disappearance, and has it been involved in a deliberate cover-up? 31st of December 2014, 2 bodies were discovered in this region. One of the bodies was discovered in Sirwa, 20 kilometers away from here in a river. The second body was discovered in Swat, in a swamp. The bodies were later booked in this mortuary as those of 2 unidentified male adults. The body discovered at Sirwa is the one police claim to have been that of Yusuf.
Border riders knew Hussein Yusuf. They knew him as a person because they operated on the same route. But the body they found, according to them, they argued this way. If this was Yusuf, we will not have called the police in the first instance. We will have crossed here and informed the family. is not Yusuf, we remove from the water.
The family of Yusuf Hussein lives less than a kilometer from where his alleged body was discovered by border operators who later called in the police. The border operators failed to identify the body as one of a person they knew. Investigations by KTN revealed that the supposed body of Yusuf was discovered at 3 p.m. but was picked up by the police at 8 p.m. that evening. Police never made any mention of the second body they discovered in a swamp in Mswat. On the same day, the body of a man they alleged to be that of Yusuf was discovered in Yala River. The family of Yebe was shown only 2 bodies at the mortuary. The body of a 70-year-old man and one they believed to be that of their own, Meshak Yebe. When I spoke to Yusuf's family, the elder sister told me, indeed Yusuf was born and brought up in Kapsabet town, but was circumcised in hospital when he was a few days old. By the time the body of the man police claimed to be that of Yusuf was being brought to Kapsabet County Hospital, there were 3 unclaimed bodies lying in the morgue. A 70-year-old male adult booked on the 27th of December by police officers from Songor police station. The body of the unknown male adult booked on the same day Yusuf's body was discovered. And then the body of an infant booked as unknown. How could 14 family members be so wrong? Paul Sugu told KTN it was not just birthmarks that the family used to identify Meshak Yebe. The Kalenjin have adopted a unique circumcision style.
Yetu ilikuwa na tai kuangalia chini, tunaita tai, lakini wa kabila ingine wanasugua round. They don't leave that part ya kuangalia chini. Yes, ilikuwa nayo. Yeye alikuwa mnani, yeye alikuwa mnani, yeye alikuwa mnani, yeye alikuwa mnani.
Thank you for staying with us on KTN Prime.
And as we promised, we take you back to the sad, disheartening story of Meshak Yebe, rather, and who exactly killed him. Here's KTN's Dennis Onsarego.
Tukapigiwa simu, wakasema kuna mtu amesikia kwa redio kuna mwili imepatikana Kapsabet.
He was once listed as a potential ICC witness.
Ilikuwa imevimba because there was no fridge. Ilikuwa imekuwa kubwa sana hivi.
Hawa wananyang'anya sisi. Huyu ni mtoto yangu.
Lakini wa kabila ingine wanasugua round. They don't leave that part ya kuangalia chini. Yes. Ilikuwa nayo. Yeye alikuwa mnani.
Coincidentally, some of the features on Yusuf Hussein's body were the very features the family of Yebe had said they used to identify Yebe's body. A birthmark on the thigh, a missing nail on one of his toes. The family of Yusuf had not reported to the police about the disappearance of their own until police officers came knocking on their door with fingerprint results.
The shoes zenye walimpata nazo kwa maji. Na nguo nilikuwa nazo.
Ulipoenda mochari baada alikuwa amevaa hizo nguo na viatu.
Nguo zilikuwa Nairobi.
Nguo zilikuwa Nairobi. Kibebi.
Ndio tuliambiwa sijui.
Nani alikwambia?
The detectives.
Ati nguo ziko
Nairobi.
So detectives wakakwambia nguo za Yusuf ziko Nairobi, ziko kwa mochari. Zikifanya nini Nairobi?
Was Yusuf Hussein a victim of convenience in the murder cover-up, or was he a victim of a crime that coincidentally fitted the murder or disappearance of Meshak Yebe? Was Meshak Yebe's body switched, and in its place, his family shown the body of Yusuf Hussein? KTN has uncovered details of suspicious undertakings by the police that seem to suggest that what the family of Yebe saw and claimed as their kin's body was indeed Meshak Yebe, but was seemingly replaced with that of Yusuf Hussein. There were 2 bodies discovered on the same day, but kilometers apart, in Nandi County on the 31st of December 2014.
Hakuwa na viatu, lakini wakati walikuwa kwa scene, OCS Kaimosi, Chief Inspector Ali, alikuwa amepiga kwa scene. Kulikuwa na kiatu moja na Nike ambayo na ingine ilikuwa nyeusi mkono ingine, lakini mochari tena nasema hakuletwa na viatu, na nguo hii suruali ilikuwa imefika hapa chini long, lakini wanasema hiyo sio long, alikuwa anavaa.
Police investigators opted to contact the family of Yusuf, but somehow failed to lift prints from the second body. Police investigators were supplied with an active mobile number that has sent a series of text messages to Meshach Yebe as late as August last year. Yebe seemed to have accused the owner of the number of threatening him. A man identified as Yebe's friend came looking for him on the day he went missing, but left after he was told Yebe had already left for Taribo. The family says the man had met Yebe at a village function days before he disappeared.
He took a photo with Meshach. He gave somebody the phone.
The two have never been questioned. Police have also never bothered to question a certain Maureen who was accused of sending a threatening message to Meshach Yebe. What will make Meshach Yebe a person of interest to the International Criminal Court's prosecution and defense?
He was tasked with helping to remove the others, including even Joanna Bureti.
Bureti, a party of national unity activist and a farmer, withdrew as a witness from the International Criminal Court in April 2013 in the case against Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Rapsang. Bureti disappeared in May last year after stepping out of a safe house in Malindi. Bureti was a close associate of Meshach Yebe. It remains yet unclear how Yebe was in President Kibaki's Party of National Unity during the post-election violence, ended up being a defense witness as claimed by the Deputy President lawyer at the International Criminal Court. Police are also yet to say who will want the man named as Yusuf Hussein tortured and have his body dumped in Yala River. Indeed, police are yet to investigate the murder of Yusuf Hussein. If Meshach Yebe is not dead as police claimed, where then is the Party of National Unity coordinator? That question was to be answered by the same police service 2 weeks ago when the family of Meshach Yebe was informed about a body lying at the Voi Hospital mortuary. 3 bodies were booked at the facility, naked and marked unidentified. Somehow, way before the family of Yebe was contacted about the discovery, there was word in the media that the body was that of Meshach Yebe.
Vile tunaongea hivi hakuna mtu yoyote amekuja kituoni hapa ama kwa CID hapa ukremu mwili hizo mili yote 3.
News of Yebe's body being discovered in Voi was leaked to the media on the 19th of February. But it wasn't until 2 days later that the family told the media they had been informed about the discovery. The body was booked at the facility where 2 other bodies had been booked. Hospital sources have told the Standard newspaper that police officers from Nairobi did visit the hospital facility on the 19th of January where they took samples from the body. There was no word from police investigators for a month until news of the discovery of the body was leaked to the media.
Lakini sira machera maybe ya kukatwa nini haikuwa na shira yoyote ama risasi hapo.
It took police investigators less than a week to place the identity of Yusuf Hussein on a body that the family of Yebe had claimed was that of their kin. A DNA test done by the family of Yebe has confirmed that indeed the body lying at the mortuary is that of the ICC witness. Again, police are yet to release the DNA findings more than a month after the body was discovered. Police appear to know more than they have told the country. What they are yet to say is how Meshach Yebe, Yusuf Hussein and 3 other men died and who killed them.
Serikali iko kitu anajua. And there is no need even competing with them.
Na nyinyi sisi huyu Ruto na wa serikali.
Family members insist Yebei was killed. His body dumped in a river to conceal his killing, but the river gave him up to a police service that seemed to have worked tirelessly to conceal it. Denson Sarigo, KTN.
Back, and you're just in time for the day's business. And in case you're joining us, we are back to you live, and also we've been doing quite a lot behind the scenes. And let's now begin with our top story in business. Kenya's economy is poised to grow by as much as 7% by 2017, buoyed by falling international crude prices and sustained investment in infrastructure. According to the World Bank, Kenya's economy is larger and growing faster than previously estimated, following a rebasing of growth figures, further elevating the country as an economic powerhouse in sub-Saharan Africa. The bank expects the economy to grow by 6.5% in 2015, much higher than the government's estimate of 6%. The World Bank further commended the Central Bank of Kenya for maintaining a tight monetary policy since 2013, which has had a cascading effect on other policy rates supporting economic activities without triggering inflation or putting pressure on the exchange rate. Those, however, a word of caution with several structural and policy issues yet to be addressed. The manufacturing industry has also been challenged to increase its competitiveness and productivity in order to grow its capacity, exports, and ability to create more jobs. Well, and to that story that Yvonne mentioned about taxis, hailing a taxi in Kenya can be rather tedious, but changes in technology is fast making taxi rides a little more manageable. Following the entry of Easy Taxi into the market a year ago, US-based taxi hailing company Uber recently started operations in Kenya, hoping to ride on the country's mobile phone penetration and a tech-savvy populace. KTN's Charles Gitonga sat down with Uber's country manager, Alistair Curtis, to find out his thoughts on the changing landscape in the taxi business.
The taxi business in Kenya has existed since the colonial times, from the blacktop cabs first introduced by British settlers to the new thriving taxi industry that has given rise to numerous companies. Moving around Nairobi and other major towns, it's clear how integral taxis have become a way of life. Getting one, however, has been quite a challenge. On a typical day, you would find cabs parked in town waiting for customers. Getting one to take you to your destination at the right price point, well, that's another challenge altogether. Recent developments in technology, however, seem to be changing the tide. US-based taxi hailing company Uber set up shop in the country, hoping to give commuters an alternative to what they had become accustomed to.
So Uber is it's a smartphone application. Download it just like any other app onto your smartphone. What it enables you to do is at the touch of a button, order a safe, reliable ride on demand. Basically, a private driver will arrive in a commercially licensed, commercially insured car and literally take you wherever you want to go.
The app allows customers to get a driver from any location at a lower cost than regular taxis by linking up operators and customers within the same vicinity, which reduces the transit time.
Okay, so we're going to open up the Uber app. GPS is then searching to find out where exactly you're located. Then it's simple. You just pull this pin wherever you want to be picked up from. You can see all the available cars around you. Set the pickup location. Confirm your location to exactly where you want to be picked up from. And then just request pickup. It then sends a request to the closest car to you. That driver will then have the option to accept that request. And then you're paired up with the driver. So, okay, here we go. So right now, Moses, in a Toyota Avalon with the number plate KBY112W, is on his way to pick us up. In exactly 2 minutes, he should be here.
Since launching operations in Nairobi, Uber has registered more than 30 cars and is optimistic about the market.
Looking at Nairobi for a while, there's a lot of things that make Nairobi a really attractive market, right? I mean, smartphone penetration is high, appetite for new technology is high, the regulations allow us to play in the space. There's a great supply of really skilled private drivers in the city. And then, you know, on the other side, riders are really looking for more choice in how they can get around their city.
Customers using this service are charged based on the duration the trip takes. But with the endemic traffic congestion problem in Nairobi, it is a tough balancing task to ensure customers are not overcharged.
So if you look at the pricing model, it's per kilometer and per minute. And, we feel that we've got a perfect balance going between, per minute charge and per kilometer charge so that it doesn't penalize the rider too much, but yet also compensates the driver for being stuck in the traffic.
And with the ability to request for a ride at the touch of a button, it is yet another testament of what technology is doing in our lives. Charles Gitonga, KTN Business.
Well, indeed, Charles Gitonga there telling us just about how Uber is planning to make a strong pitch in Kenya. Moving on, Commercial Bank of Africa has signed its 10th millionth customer, becoming the country's largest bank by customer numbers and pushing Equity Bank into second place. The bank achieved its feat thanks to the hugely successful M-Shwari platform that was launched in partnership with Safaricom. The deal has seen M-Shwari deposits gross over 153 billion shillings since its launch in 2012, affirming the growing convergence between financial services and telecommunication sectors in accelerating financial inclusion in Africa. The bank has extended loans amounting to 29 billion shillings, processing an average of 50,000 loans per day over the last 2 years. CBA is the country's largest privately owned bank and is ranked the biggest Tier 2 bank in the country. The government has rolled out an ambitious job evaluation exercise for public officers in a move that could free billions of shillings of taxpayer money. Once complete, the initiative is set to realign jobs for state officers and iron out inconsistencies and inequities in Kenya's public sector. KTN's Philip Keitani has the details.
The estimated public sector wage bill for 2014-2015 financial year is 568 billion shillings against an estimated 1.8 trillion budget. Salaries and Remuneration Commission says a similar review in 2013-2014 financial year saved the taxpayer a whopping 1.4 billion shillings and reduced the wage bill from 12.8 billion shillings to 11.4 billion shillings.
What we are doing now is what we think will help in streamlining the public service in terms of people feeling that they are being paid for what they are doing.
Currently, the starting salary for the highest paid public officer is 302,000 shillings, while the lowest takes 8,910 shillings. With about 650,000 employees, the public service, which is the largest single employer in Kenya, gobbles up an estimated 10% of the gross domestic product in remunerations and benefits, or about 52% of the domestic revenue.
By doing the job evaluation, we want to see how we can be able to release some of the money that is going into the public service into development.
CRC is, however, criticizing counties that are working on their own job evaluation, as this might erode the already achieved gains. The evaluation process, which is already underway, is expected to take approximately 18 months, during which period the commissions will ensure remuneration is aligned to productivity, competitiveness and qualifications. Deloitte East Africa, advisors for the exercise, insist that the savings expected from the process, if any, will be determined by the true value of jobs after the evaluation process, with civil servants expected to get remuneration that is commensurate to their job descriptions.
It's a matter of redistribution and making sure that everybody is bringing value to the service.
The Ministry of Devolution has already installed biometric tools to capture public officers' personal information. Data generated will help both levels of government in making informed decisions in human resource management and in the rationalization and deployment of staff. Philip Keitani, KTN Business.
Many thanks there, Philip. And now to a story that will be of great interest, especially to someone in the university. The Higher Education Loans Board has tapped the KCB Group to run student smart cards, a movement to ease student loan disbursement. This comes as HELB moves to scrap bank account loan disbursement in a movement to seal leakages and improve efficiency KCB Bank becomes the first bank to roll out the smart cards, partnering with 3 universities, with 6 other banks expected to be roped in by HELB. To take a slice of the multi-billion shillings university disbursement scheme,
ladies and gentlemen,
the bank inked a deal with Higher Education's Loans Board to issue students with smart cards, which HELB will disburse student loans to.
As pioneering institutions, our role is to catalyze the change that we want to make in our education system in our nation today.
For KCB, this comes with an added advantage of earning commissions from bulk deposits by HELB. The partnership is set to place the bank in new revenue territory.
So it's a sense of digitizing the way we actually manage transactions in our markets.
The Higher Education's Loans Board set a June 2015 deadline to migrate from disbursing money to individual student accounts and instead use a more centralized disbursement platform. Last year, it signed up Family Bank, KCB, Chase Bank, National Bank, Equity, Jamii Bora and NIC to develop special cards to be issued to students. KCB will issue the cards to Egerton University, Kenya Medical Training College and the Technical University of Mombasa as it looks to sign on more universities.
The launch of this card comes at a time when HELB is struggling to recover money.
The near-field communication-enabled card will be on a digital wallet platform, hence other than tuition fees, the card can be used to pay for meals, accommodation and pocket money. Well, one of the major challenges that university students have to contend with is the issue of impulse buying. Ukona nini leo?
Kuna apples, bananas, fruit salad.
Mpatie apples na fruit salad. Ni how much here? Peke? Sawa. Well, it is hoped that by the launch of this new card, such cases will be a thing of the past. The previous system saw HELB incur huge outstanding debts. The education body has been unable to recall an estimated 11 billion shillings over time from beneficiary students and universities. Currently performing loans equate to 14 billion shillings. KCB will be banking on its countrywide reach of over 240 branches and over 10,000 agents to conveniently offer the services to institutions of higher learning. Well, and that brings us to the end of our business bulletin on this first day when we got back on air. And KTN Business will continue giving you comprehensive business news and analysis as we continue to bring you the latest in the world of business. And for the record, I didn't carry all those apples as my director Okedi was asking. Well, with that, my name is Abi Agina. Do have a pleasant evening. Coming up next is sports with Lynn Washira.
We apologize for that mix-up right there, but that story, we spoke to Claudio Berardelli, the Italian coach who was coaching Rita Chepto at the time of her failed drug test, is coming right now. He arrived in the country as a young sports science graduate from Italy, but 11 years on, Claudio Berardelli has molded tens of Kenya's world beaters, including Martin Lel, Janet Chepkosgei, Eunice Sum, and Nancy Jebet Lagat. He has lived a relatively quiet life in Eldoret, Kapsabet, and Kaptagat, but that has since changed since Chicago and Boston Marathon champion Rita Chepto, an athlete he coached, tested positive to EPO late last year.
Let me tell you, I cried the day they told me Rita was positive for EPO. Now just imagine after 11 years being on the ground every morning, all of a sudden, I found my name involved in a doping scandal. Yes, definitely, Rita, I was the coach. I'll never run away saying that I was not the coach. I was. You know, you open a blog, but you see things and then you say, what? 11 years investing my time, my life, and then all of a sudden me, I'm the #1 of the doctors? I'm sorry. That's a joke. And you know what I'm sorry? The people, they're speculating on this story.
Claudio Berardelli and Rosa Associate Manager Federico Rosa were among those summoned to appear before a medical commission at the Athletics Kenya headquarters. Rita has since received a 2-year ban, but unfortunately, speculations on how she ended up on the wrong side of the World Anti-Doping Agency rules haven't completely gone away.
But we talk of something that you can just inject yourself. So whoever is trying to say that you get EPO with special drinks, colored drinks, white tablets, you know, I'm sorry, that ignorance. But now you know what? I feel like I'm the #1 of the stupid people. Because I have never seen anything. And you know, I failed. Because if then Rita did that one, it's because me as a coach, I was not able to pass her a message. But you know what? Go back 5-6 years ago. Athletes could not even use supplements in Kenya. Let me tell you, even Panadol for headache, they could refuse it.
2014 New York Marathon second finisher Jemima Sumgong, who is coached by Claudio, was incorrectly banned, and although she got cleared, this is a factor that may have contributed to the increased finger-pointing towards the roster management.
No one will believe that Jemima has done nothing, because that's the way it is. And people, they are not asking. People, they never came even to ask me, hey, what happened? Suspect culture is what, to me, is destroying the sports in general. And right now, probably the athletics, and unfortunately, the athletics in Kenya. And I'm very sorry because I spent 11 years in Kenya, from Monday to Sunday. Today is a Sunday and I'm in training. My guys, they know here. People from abroad, although I come from abroad, they now get an excuse to say, we know why Kenyans, they're running fast now. We know the secret, they're using drugs. No way. I stand for the Kenyan athletes because I know how they train. I know how much they're motivated. Ethically, I will respect Rita as a woman, but I don't respect Rita as an athlete. And you know, she did not stand to talk. Even me, I'm waiting. Don't think I know what happened.
But away from the doping accusations with Claudio Berardelli.
Someone very determined. But I don't pretend to say I'm a good coach, I'm a bad coach, or I'm the best coach in the world. My people will judge me.
Despite success in coaching male athletes in the country, it's with the Kenyan female athletes that Claudio has posted immense success.
Much easier to coach a woman than a man. Women are by far more committed. When then you have a husband who is, cooperating and involved in the project, it's perfect. If tomorrow they tell me that I have to leave this country, I will just leave, no problem. But the doping problem will not be solved chasing me. Probably all of us, we got a shock. But now please, let's stop getting shocked and let us, all of us, working to save the #1 country in the world in athletics.
Claudio is currently focused on training a group of his athletes ahead of the London Marathon on the 26th of April. There you had it, be the judge. And moving on, the court injunction against the Kenyan Premier League will remain in force until March 13th, when the High Court is expected to make a ruling. This is after High Court Judge Abrili directed that she will issue the ruling on an application filed by FKF accusing KPL of running an illegal football league in the country.
After FKF and KPL failed to reach an agreement as directed by Lady Justice Rosaline Abureli on Tuesday, the Kenyan Premier League will remain on hold for the third week since the High Court extended its injunction to March 13th. That is when the court will hear the contempt of court proceedings Football Kenya Federation filed. FKF, through its chairman Sam Nyamoya, wanted KPL barred from running or organizing a parallel and illegal league in the country. KPL chairman Ambrose Rachiel and KPL chief executive officer Jack Oguda face 6 months in jail. If FKF have their way in court with regard to the application to the subject, the two face civil jail.
For my lady, either a contradiction or an intention to violate the ban, for the two to state that they are engaged in football management in the country.
Former FKF members Sam Shole and Dan Shikanda, who sought to be enjoined in the case between FKF and KPL as interested parties, have until Friday morning to know whether they will be part of the proceedings. And while the court case continues, the FKF Premier League, which started last weekend, will go on since it has not been affected by the goings-on. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
Well, so, what a day it has been, and it was quite a busy day as opposed to the past 19 days.
Yeah, where we have been all those questions. And Wilson Mburu and Jerry Mushura have been not having a very good time being away, and they will be telling us that on this week's edition of Mock the Week, it's actually not Mock the Week.
It's Mock the Blackout.
Here's a teaser of that.
We are back. Turn down for what? Turn down for what?
It was the president's fault.
What? Turn down for what?
So that is coming up on Sunday. That's on KTN Weekend Prime. You don't want to miss it. I've watched all of it, and as usual, you know, Wilson is at his best. So if you want to know what we're all doing, a lot of nothing for some. Other people found side hustles. Zubeida was in the kitchen.
Yes.
Michael Gitonga. What was I doing? You want to watch Mock the Week to find out.
All right, I will do that. I was basically working, but I had more time to.
You were working?
To look, take care of my little munchkin.
Oh yeah, I know. She's a cute little one. Yeah, good. So at least she had some your undivided attention. Yeah. All right, good. So thanks for watching so much. We appreciate your feedback. Thank you for making us trend tonight. It's good to be back. My name is Yvonne Okwara Matole. Do remember Morning Express with Sophia Wanuna and Michael Gitonga returns tomorrow. We are indeed back. Good night.
Many thanks for joining us as we came back on air. My name is Ben Kitili. Good night from the KTN News Center.